I'm Jeni Britton-Bauer, and I'm an ice cream expert.
Hi, Sharks. I'm Allison Ellsworth.
Today, I'll be trying some of the best ice cream in the country. Jeni.
No, because hear me out. If you don't like Poppies, I don't know if we can be friends.
Jeni's is seriously one of my favorite ice cream places. They have the most elite ice cream. Seriously, look at these flavors.
I started making ice cream when I was studying art at Ohio State University, and I figured out that ice cream is like this perfect canvas for telling stories.
Hi guys, the founder of Jeni's Ice Cream just started a new company. It's called Flora, and it's focused on fiber-rich bars.
Fiber is the fastest way to feel better, to look better, and to live longer.
Stop spiraling. Get a Poppy.
Get a Poppy.
Get a Poppy.
Allison Ellsworth built a modern soda empire from scratch. No roadmap, just hustle, TikTok, and sheer grit.
In the future, everyone drinks Poppy.
And apple cider vinegar just kept sticking out. I would drink it every day and it just made me feel better. And I just made something that made it taste better. And then all of a sudden people were like, hey, this isn't that bad.
I don't need soda. All I need is an ice cold Poppy.
You get a Poppy, you get a Poppy, you get a Poppy, yeah!
Founders of prebiotic soda brand Poppy are cashing in after selling to Pepsi for more than $1.6 billion.
Moving at the speed of culture is just like part of what we do.
We're creating value for people, for our customers.
Yeah.
We're creating something of value, something that motivates. And Jeni's, I always say, and actually at Flora too, inspire and activate people.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I am thrilled to be joined by Allison Ellsworth, the founder of Poppy, and Jeni Britton, the founder of Jeni's Splendid Ice Creams, and more recently, Flora. My name is Ava Wallace, and I am not a business reporter. I'm a sports reporter at the Washington Post, but I'm really excited to be having this conversation. I cover all kinds of different sports, but I spend a lot of time in women's sports. And in spending 10 years of my career talking to athletes every day, nobody is building their brands more constantly. Athletes are brand builders, athletes are investors, they're starting companies, and also if you ever want to know what the next wellness trends are going to be over the next 5 years, talk to a professional athlete. They care more than anybody else what goes in their body. So I'm really, really excited to talk to you guys. I wanted to start a little bit with your origin stories. Allison, if I could start with you. Take me back to the kitchen in Texas. You were kind of not dissimilar to professional athletes, trying to feel better, right? How did Poppy start?
Yes, I love the intro video where like they did a deep dive on us with it, but I mean, come on, you guys rocked it. So excited to be here today. Thank you guys. Started the company. Really, I worked in oil and gas research before I did Poppy, which is so random, and it has nothing to do with beverage, but is what it was is I was on the road constantly. For anyone that's like on the road nonstop, you just don't feel good, right? You're like a road warrior, your tummy hurts, and I went to the internet, I Googled, like, how do I reset and detox my body, and apple cider vinegar just kept coming up. And so I tried it, but it was disgusting, and I was like, I like the way it made me feel, but I needed to make it taste better. It wasn't sustainable to do it all the time. And so into my kitchen I went, I created Poppy literally in my kitchen, the first 9 flavors, still out today, the raspberry rose, the cherry limeades, the oranges of the world, we still made personally in our kitchen. Then went on to Shark Tank and got it down Shark Tank, and then we did a rebrand, and we did Poppy launch March 3rd, the first week of COVID. And it's really crazy. I really think that was a really great opportunity for us because it was the first time everyone was thinking about their health and wellness worldwide. They were looking for better for you products, and everyone was bored at home and on their phones. And so we've really capitalized on being one of the first brands on TikTok. So we have over 3 billion views on TikTok, and 1/3 of the platform has seen my face over 7 times. So we've really created an incredible community on there, and then became one of the fastest growing beverages in the history of beverage, and then just sold, I do have to correct, it was $1.95 billion to Pepsi recently. And so it's been, yeah, the American dream.
And Jeni, I think one of your quotes is that you developed a bit of an adrenaline addiction as an entrepreneur.
Yes.
How did your experience founding Jeni's influence what you did with Flora?
I mean, I have to talk about this adrenaline addiction for a second,
okay, sure,
because
please,
you mentioned it, but it is interesting that, and I'd be interested in your take on this too, but when you're building a company, especially like from nothing all the way up. And I mean, when I started, I lived out of my car for 3 months. I was living in my Chevy Chevette, working in the farmer's market, which I did for 10 years, and then start growing. And it is like the adventure of a lifetime. I loved every moment of it, and none of it was easy. I mean, it was really, really hard. It was really brutal at sometimes. But you go into it every day because you're so locked into the vision of what it could be, and that has never changed. It's always been the same from the very beginning, and I think that's where you get this like rush of energy, and that's the adrenaline. But I knew nothing about that. I had never been a sports person. I moved every year growing up, so I never was into sports. I was into art, and my grandmother was an artist, and so I was an art kid and like deep nerd, and like never did sports, and never understood that until I got into entrepreneurship. And then it was like all in, found my competitiveness. I loved it so much, even my competitiveness against myself. So becoming better tomorrow than I am today. And even at Jeni's, we talk about making better ice creams. Just like every single thing we do all the time is about getting better tomorrow. We can't do everything we want to do today. And certainly if you look back 20 years ago, we're a very different company. We knew that we could just get better a little bit at a time. And so that adrenaline that I had, and cortisol, and like that worry that I was with every day, and that drive to run hard, which made Jeni's, actually also broke me at one point. It was just an ultimate shattering. And that was luckily, weirdly, right before COVID. And so I could take the time, stop traveling, go back to the forest is where I went. And I started to learn, that was when I started to learn about fiber. And that's a little bit of a story, but basically I just learned about fiber and the importance of fiber. And not just gut motility, but actually on your microbiome and diverse fibers and how it can impact how you feel on every realm. And it was partly because I was feeling that myself. And then a long story, short, what happens, you start peeling back the onion. You start to think, like, if I'm feeling this way, why don't other people know about this? And just investigating. And then I find this big produce company with all of this fiber that they're throwing out every single day, apple cores and watermelon rinds, and it's like, wow, there's this free stuff that we could actually turn into beautiful fiber. So long story, but I mean, yeah, it's like, basically it just goes back to like, what do you need at the time? At Jeni's, I needed community. I had moved every year growing up. At Flora, I learned about fiber and the impact of that on my body, and so you just start, it's the only lens I've ever known is entrepreneurship.
It's so interesting that you mention vision, and I feel like I'm not an ideas person. I'm an executor. I'm not good at kind of that long-term vision. But when you were first starting out, and both of you had ideas and the vision before you had your companies, obviously. When you're first starting out, what's the hardest part? Is it developing the vision and saying, okay, I have this idea, but I don't really know what to turn it into? Is it maybe getting the capital or finding your customer? I wonder between those three, what seem like to me big buckets, how you guys would answer that. What's the hardest one?
All of the above?
No fair.
Yes. No, I think to your point, my superpower is I can inspire. I can make anyone feel like they can do anything, and I think like that comes down to team. So I think a really big mistake entrepreneurs do is they think they can do everything themselves, right? And then it leads to burnout, and you grow this ego, like I've done every job. The second you start bringing people in and getting a good team around you, and you grow, it allows you, the company to grow, it allows you to have sanity, get sleep, do all of these things. So for me, it's like getting a team in early is really, really hard to do, but one of the most rewarding things that you can do. And then I think just like having fun along the way while doing it, because everything is scary while starting a company. Everything is hard. Being a mom is hard. Like while doing the business, like it's just hard, right? I think entrepreneurship is the hardest job in the world, but it's the most rewarding job in the world. And so, I always say like, stop dreaming, start doing, because you can have a vision, a superpower, but unless you're getting shit done, it doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. So I think it's all hard, but it's so fun. It's so fun. Like you said, I don't know anything else other than this, and you have to be a little crazy too, right?
I think absolutely crazy. I think if we took Jeni's as a business plan to any university in the world, we would fail the class. It would not pass any business class. We do everything in-house, and it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense because we gave it time. And then to that point, to your question, just I think it's interesting because I'm in a time in my life where like I raised Jeni's over like 25 years, 30 years. I mean, it started in 1996 in the farmer's market. I knew nothing. I thought I knew a lot more than I knew. But at 22, that's great. That's an advantage. And so we grew very slowly, but because we grew very, very, very slowly, I could figure out how to do it very differently. If I was going to, start an ice cream company that could compete with Jeni's right now, or even like be something new and different, right now what you would do is you'd make a deck and you'd go raise money and you would have a factory and you would spend all that money and deploy that and like get your team and do all your things. And I don't know that it would work in the ice cream world. It could. Ice cream is very complex, but what happened over time was that I learned about dairy proteins. I learned how to stabilize ice cream without stabilizers, how to take emulsifiers out of ice cream, how to use homogenization and pressure instead of corn syrup and instead of egg yolks and some of the other ingredients or whatever, but I would never have learned that had I not had the time to do that. But the difference between Jeni's and Flora is that Flora is going so fast, faster than I can control it in a way, and that is so cool. And so now I'm in this place of like, people are like, product market fit, and we're using all these business terms, which I don't care for. Honestly, I don't really like them. I don't, I understand that they're useful to, make a meeting go faster, but I'm like, product market fit, okay. And like, we're fundraising and we're like, and it is interesting. So it's all hard, but it's also like, and like, building a brand is so incredibly complex because if we had, like at Flora, we're building it right now. We're building it with our customers, just like we did at Jeni's. Instead of, launching a brand on people, that's great, but we weren't sure exactly who was gonna buy it. So now we know, but like, we're upside down, but it's like the best again. So I think like that's how it's supposed to be. It's completely chaos behind the scenes and like so much fun. It's like, I always imagine Frodo at the end, at Mordor when he's like, the image in your mind, right? That's how I feel sometimes. Like if you don't look like that at the end of this, I'm sure you look so great. You don't look at all like that.
Well, no, I know you probably want to answer another question, but to go off this is like, we took 9 months to create the brand before we launched. And a lot of brands don't do that. We did the work, we figured out our brand positioning, our vision, packaging, where we fit in the market, who our consumer was, who our creative target was. We did a lot of that work, and then we were like, hopefully it works, right? So it's like, it's risky either way, but you hear it from both of us, you do have to build the brand. Whether you do it before or during, you do have to invest and build the brand and get it figured out.
Yeah, and we spent all that time, actually 3 years, trying to figure out how to make watermelon rind, how to ferment watermelon rinds, make it into a fiber that we could use, and how to take apple cores from the Mott's apples grown upstate and make it into a paste. Most bars use date paste. We use apple paste from apple cores made from the Mott's apple line. So it's like, we put all of that into that, and of course then you think, if I just turn the sign over, like everybody's gonna be so interested in this, and it's like, people are like, yeah, but where's all the creative stuff from Jeni's? And I'm like, well, that's coming. But it's, it's just, yeah, it's coming.
I'm just glad I wouldn't have to go to business school.
Well, that too.
Both of you, I think, had early opportunities to receive some capital, some funding that maybe ended up not being the right money at the right time. And kind of in that same vein, I wonder, when you are just starting out, or maybe you're just building your brand, how do you trust yourself enough to turn down opportunities?
We turned
that's a good response to a question.
Yeah, no.
Right, what it is like, how much of this do I want to say out loud?
It's just us in here.
Us. Watch the post. We had opportunity to take like $200,000 before we went on to Shark Tank, and it's always like the dumb money. Don't take the money that can't work for you, and it really is true. We went on Shark Tank, we got a deal with someone that had, knowledge, and they were able to help us get employees and open up connections, and like that really is really important. But I think what I really have to say that me and my husband did really good as the founders is we did not let our egos get in the way of that growth. A lot of entrepreneurs don't want to let go of equity and don't see the value in the money, right? They sometimes just see the money. And for us, we saw the value and the money. And so for us, we actually just raised with one VC the entire time, which is really rare. We let a couple people in that were like influencers and celebrities, like the Olivia Munns, the Post Malones, the Alex Earls of the world. We did investments from those just because it was a strategic partnership within like our creator and celebrity. But I just feel like It's not easy though, working with money, because we lost control pretty early on. And it's funny, now I'm on the other side after selling the company. I was a shark on Shark Tank this season, and I'm like investing again. And I saw the founder, and I'm talking to her, and we made a deal on Shark Tank. And then afterwards, she's like, I think I deserve more. And she's like renegotiating. And I was like, well, we're not going to close this deal then. So it's like I'm getting both sides of it. It's such an interesting thing. All I'd have to say is I think I like being an entrepreneur better.
Yes.
I also want to talk about the social media aspect of it. And I loved your stat that you gave that, okay, so it's 1/3 of TikTok has seen your face 7 times. I guess aside from what you mentioned about you guys launching at the start of the pandemic, we're all on our phones, what do you feel like in your brand strategy or about how you wanted to approach social media made you guys take off on TikTok specifically so fast?
I think it was because the strategy came from the top down. So what that means is I think a lot of companies leave it up to an intern or a young kid on your team to figure it out. I was pulling trends every day. I was posting, I was editing, I was studying the platforms. I was going to Meta seminars, TikTok seminars, asking questions, that it became part of our DNA at Poppy. And then we hired for it. We made it a priority. So some of our first key hires were social media managers, community people to create content. And then even at one point, we had like 7 people at Poppy that had logins to our TikTok, and they didn't even have to get approval. Like they could just start posting. Like a trend is a trend, and if you wait 3 days, it's not a trend anymore. So if they saw something trending, I would say post, who cares? Because that's how you move at the speed of culture. And it just became such like an integral part of who Poppy was. Now, once we scaled and we did a Super Bowl ad, you can't really do the music and stuff like that. It's different stages of business, but if you're young and you're just starting a company or you're wanting to be a creator, get online now, tell your story before you scale, because that's how you build community.
Jeni, how has consumers, our relationship with influencers and people on social media, how did that go into how you wanted to approach marketing for Flora and how online you wanted to be with Flora versus maybe when you started out and you said 1996 with Jeni's?
Well, it was obviously incredibly different. When I started Jeni's, I had to go to the library to find a cocoa supplier. Like the reference department. Wow. They had giant books that were like phone books, you know? And then I called the cocoa supplier and it was like way too big. So it was a whole different thing. Seeing the rise of everything too. It was so great because I used to take, if somebody wanted a flavor that we didn't have, I would have a notebook and then I would call them on the phone when we would have that flavor. And then, wow. Twitter started and I could just broadcast it. It was so great. And then people would find that and come down for the flavors that they wanted or whatever. So yeah, I've seen the whole thing. And it's so interesting now with Flora because, well, and let me just, it is actually really interesting. Fiber is really cool, what's happening in fiber right now. So think about, from a business point of view, obviously also in your body, but and we talked about this a little too, but like, I know because a year and a half, or well, let's say 2 years ago, I launched a Kickstarter just to see if people would even follow me from ice cream to fiber. It's a weird zag, and people had known me in ice cream for so long. So I launched a Kickstarter. I know the CEO there, and I was like, let's just do it. Let's just do that, and we'll see what happens or whatever. And that was great. But we did we basically created a community of 5,000 people that helped us understand what people know about fiber. And people knew nothing about fiber. They didn't know the difference between prebiotic and probiotic, which even still we talked about, they don't really know. But they're getting there. But it's changing so fast. There were fewer creators really talking about fiber. Obviously, RDs and registered dietitians and nutritionists were, but it was still not getting the. 1 year later, completely different. It's a tsunami. Different than, say, protein that like took 10 years to build, and now I heard that the Pepsi CEO say that fiber is the new protein, that Doritos are finally getting protein. Okay, that's the last stage we can get to, right? There isn't another product. We've got Starbucks and we've got Doritos, but even at the same time, they're going to be adding fiber to things. So it's not going to go through that same thing. So when you think about how did this happen, it's social media. Word travels really fast when stuff really picks up. And it's so interesting and so cool to me. So when we launched, it was literally the perfect time to be talking about diverse, soluble, insoluble fibers for your body.
How do you guys, as founders who are also the faces of your companies, even if you're not still with Poppy, even after selling it, I think you are definitely the face of Poppy. we talk so much about authenticity in social media, and how do you decide how much of yourself you get to share? How do I make it feel like I have a connection with my customers while not like pissing off my business partners, say, or something like that? How do those internal decisions happen for you guys? And is there a line that you just don't cross where you say, no, you don't get access to that?
My whole life is online. My kids are online. I've been in Crocs and socks and dancing and making tacos. Like, my whole life's online. I will say it's a balance and the stage of business. So in the early days, it's imperative, right? That I was posting 100 times a month, 3-4 times a day, creating content. I blocked it in my schedule because all it was is my time. It was free, right? As an entrepreneur, you'll do anything to share your mission with as many people as possible. Then as we scaled, we started introducing people from our team, and people fell in love with them. And then I could sit back a little bit and not be so stressed that it was on me. And then now, I still created probably like 4 pieces of content for Poppy last week around different things. I'm still doing it post-sale because it's my baby and I want to see it be successful. So I think it's different stages, but I do think at some point the brand has to stand on its own. And then, oh, by the way, I'll always be there to support it. And I think that depends on the stage of the business.
That's such a good point. It's so true that it does have to stand on its own. And I'm in a different time of my life where I'm pretty open online, but I'm not there all the time anymore. I think first of all, I'm running a company, and like that's just a lot. But also, I have learned, and I think we're in a different era of social media too, even than just last year or the year before. But it goes in that. I feel like luxury is just privacy. And I never really had that ever in my life because I was at the counter at Jeni's 18, 20 hours. I was there all the time. In fact, I tried to call it something else but Jeni's, and everybody was like, it doesn't make any sense. Everybody calls it Jeni's because I was there all the time. So my entire life has been lived in the public, even if it was just me in the North Market, in our little farmer's market, or walking down the street and knowing everybody on my way home, or then I got into social media and all of that. And now I sort of feel like, okay, I'm not showing everything. I never showed my children because they didn't want that. And now I just kind of feel like there's a whole sort of private side of my life. I don't show my relationships really so much, and it's just a little different. But I also feel like I have to step back in a little bit more. I feel like I got out of that a little bit, and maybe I need to take a class from Allison a little bit.
My kids think I'm a TikToker. I'm like, no, I started a company.
Oh, right. Oh,
yeah.
Like, don't forget.
I'm like, no.
That's what pays the bills, right?
Yes.
Okay, we are running out a little bit of time. I have a million questions left that I could ask, but after the sale, I guess what can you do? Like you said, you want to still be involved in Poppy's your baby. You want to see it grow, but how, when a multinational company comes in and helps you with distribution and manufacturing, all that good stuff, how does a brand like yours maintain its nimbleness, maintain its kind of core ethos of a trend is a trend only for 3 days, just do it now? How is that possible in these days, I guess?
As of now, yes. And I'm very aware once you kind of get bought by a bigger company, it does become more difficult, more risk adverse, there's more approval processes. But the beauty of Pepsi and their motto has been, let's keep Poppy Poppy, right? So they kept all of our employees, our same team is in place. I'm still, they pay me to be an advisor, so I advise on the creative and brand and, you know, my likeness and all that. But I see that it won't be forever. But that's what comes with selling your company, right? I sold 100% of my company. I think that they bought us for our brand and for our community, and they're really scared to mess it up. I'll be honest, like they're very scared because they have like, the CEO told me, we have 22 brands that get men. You're the only one that gets women and Gen Z. We don't want to mess it up. So yeah, so I think like they're very aware, but as 3 years from now, like, I don't know, right? And that's scary. But for me, our mission is to revolutionize soda for the next generation. I want it to be the soda my kids and grandkids drink is soda. And the best way to do that is to partner with someone like Pepsi, because we can go from 50,000 locations to 400,000 locations and be in every airport and be in Taco Bell and Subway. Like, we couldn't have done that without it. So for me, I think that we're cool enough to stick around, but don't mess it up.
Jeni, could I ask you, I wonder what you think it means that these big companies want to let Poppy be Poppy and want to let something like Flora be Flora. Just what it means for kind of the future of business or where we are now. Yeah.
I mean, they're not doing innovation so much in companies anymore. So looking for innovation outside of that, I think it's really fun. It creates opportunity for people who are interested in building products that people want and looking for what's kind of over the horizon. So I feel like it's one way of. I mean, we have not sold Jeni's to a big company. I mean, that's kind of a different thing. That I guess is an option at some point, or whatever. But that's not kind of where we're at right now. But yeah, I mean, I think that's I talk to young people all the time and say like anything that's out there you can make for your generation now. You can change it for what you want it to be, and that's exactly what it is. And then you grow it, and you either hold on to it or you sell it to a big company, and they will, of course, want to keep the genetic code or whatever of that company. I will say that one of the reasons that Jeni's is a B Corp is because when we started to take on money, we had values that we didn't want to ever change, and so we had it sort of codified in this idea of the B Corp. Where it's like if somebody were to come in and take over, control. That all has to kind of remain the same because that's a pretty tough certification to get, which is one of the ways that we protected our brand. Our brand being really like what people believe in, about us. And actually, I was going to say too, like that my platform is really like I was in the Jeni stores, I'm there all the time. But I love it when I hear people who are behind the counter saying something that I wrote or I said over the counter 20 years ago. And when I'm in almost any city and I just like can go in and have a conversation with somebody, and it's like those are also platforms, and sometimes we forget that building something in real life is also making massive change in people's lives, and it's also incredibly meaningful.
I'm also at the Jeni store all the time. It's just different.
Sometimes I'm in line and I've got a hat.
It's different between.
I might be standing behind you, eavesdropping.
Okay, sounds good. I could ask you guys so many more questions. That's sadly all the time we have, though. I'm so sorry. Thank you guys so much, Allison, Ellison, and Jeni Britton. We really, really appreciate you sharing your wisdom. We have treats. It's your guys' turn. Poppy and Flora outside. Enjoy. And we're going to just take a really brief programming break so you can get your sugar and your fiber and your probiotic or prebiotic fix. Sorry. But come back at 4 o'clock because we're going to have a special conversation with Rebecca Yaros. That's going to be great. Thanks, guys.